Hey everyone, let's talk about why no contact is not enough. No contact is absolutely not enough. If I'm going to disconnect myself from a major source of toxicity, pain in my life, whether it's a relationship that I'm trying to detach myself from so that I can move forward and focus on my life, on my goals, a relationship that I've become way too attached to, become too dependent on. My happiness is now dependent on that person. That's a form of addiction. That's a form of dependency. Addiction, dependency is when you need something outside of you to make you feel whole, happy, healthy. Okay? Let me close down some of these programs. I feel like there's some latency going on here with this video. My computer is getting slow. It's getting older. All right. So, why no contact is not enough? Why? Because, okay, if I'm not contacting let's say my ex, or if I'm not in contact with whatever that is, whether it's gambling, alcohol, breaking contact, that's the first step. But if I'm checking out my ex's Facebook page or Twitter or Instagram every day, I'm not going to move on. I'm going to keep that person in my thoughts. That person's not only going to be kept in my thoughts, but it's not even going to be that person who's in my thoughts. It's going to be this this fantasy idea that I'm going to start creating in my mind. It's not even going to be the reality. It's not going to be the real person anymore. It's going to be, I'm going to start putting this person on a pedestal. I'm going to only think of and remember all the great things. Something that happens in breakups, when we break up with someone, is we suddenly forget everything that's bad about them, anything that was bad about the relationship, and we can only remember how cool they were, how attractive they were, how cute, how awesome, and then we immediately start regretting and thinking, oh, what a mistake I've made, and it was my fault, I was stupid. And guess what? They're probably going to think the same thing too. So it's not just you that's going to be going through that; they will too. It's I'm not going to get into too much detail on that incredible thing that happens, but it happens, and I see it all the time, almost with every single person going through this. You have a breakup, and you break up for a reason. Remember that. If you feel like you're the one that got dumped, or you're the one who dumped the other person, know this. Both of you did it. You're both responsible. And always remember that. That's something that you can write down in your journal that will help you move forward, and it's the truth. Both of you contributed to the relationship ending. You may have done it subconsciously. We sabotage our relationships sometimes subconsciously without being aware of it. But you have to trust that. There's a reason why you sabotaged it. Either because that person's not right for you and something deep inside you knows that or knew that and is trying to pull you away, or maybe you have invested way too much of your happiness and health and wholeness into this person, and that's ruining the relationship. And again, ruining the relationship, why? So that you can come back to yourself, come back to your foundations, come back to your core, come back to who you are, so that you can find happiness in your life first. We must enter into relationships first being able to stand up on our own 2 feet. You can't hobble around and try to like find someone and be like, you get over here, I need to hold on to you before I fall down. That's not how what a relationship is about. It's not attractive. If you're walking out in the street and someone's hobbling towards you, trying to grab onto you so that they can stay on their 2 feet, so they can stay happy and healthy and strong, what are you going to do? You're going to run away, aren't you? It's kind of like a zombie apocalypse if someone's running or walking towards you like that, right? You're like, stay away from me. So understand that. You have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet first. Not only first, but first and until the end of your days. Until the last day you are on this planet, you've got to have that foundation of wholeness, self-love. What is wholeness and self-love all about? It's about what are your goals in life? Are you pursuing them every day? What are the activities that bring you strength, health, energy? What are the activities that are doing the opposite? And are you reducing them? Are you moving away from them? Yes, it's hard to move away from them. It is hard. It is hard to delete Tinder. It is hard to get out of the cycle and addiction of sexting, porn. I was just talking to one of my clients today about NoFap, which is the growing movement of people who are deciding to focus away from the porn, away from masturbating, away from sexting, away from pleasuring themselves, taking care of themselves. If you're doing that every day, look, this person I was talking to said, one of my biggest weaknesses is that I have a very addictive personality. We all have addictive personalities. Having an addictive personality is not a bad thing. I saw the trailer for the new Trainspotting movie the other day, and there was a line in there where he says something that I've mentioned in my videos before. One of my first videos was, he said, look, you're an addict. So use that ability and find a healthy addiction. That is 100% beautifully said, spot on, super intelligent, incredibly awakened mind, whoever wrote that, that line. It is absolute truth. We all have addictive personalities. That's not a bad thing. If we didn't have an addictive personality, you'd never see a genius like, Jimi Hendrix. I shouldn't call him a genius. We can all be like that. It's just that Jimi Hendrix got obsessed. That's what addictive personality really is. It's obsession. And the greatest athletes, the greatest champions, the most successful people on earth, there's a word that's always associated with the best. And that word is obsession. They're obsessed. They're obsessed with fighting. They're obsessed with playing their guitar. Jimi Hendrix was always playing his guitar. He played it so much until it just became a part of his body. Same with Miles Davis. Same with anyone who's mastered their craft. There's something that I'm sure many of you have heard of, and if you haven't, I highly suggest you research it, Google it, which is, I think it's 10,000 hours. When you do 10,000 hours of something, you master it. It becomes part of your instinct. It's like a Jimi Hendrix, like a Miles Davis. They just practiced and practiced. They were obsessed. And it's the same with porn. It's the same with, sexting, with the addiction to sex or masturbation, or, the pleasure of orgasm, or the addiction we might have to gambling, or the addiction we might have to relationships, being in a relationship. How do we develop these addictions or obsessions? By doing them. The more you do something, the better you become at it. Or the more you do something, the more powerful that thing becomes in your life. So if I'm going to be playing my guitar every day, my ability to play the guitar, the playing the guitar becomes a powerful part of my life. If I'm going to go on uh, porn sites every day, or if I'm going to be sexting every day, or if I'm going to be on Tinder every day, the more I'm swiping left and right on Tinder or Bumble or whatever, well, that's what I'm training my mind and body for. That's going to become a much more, I'm gearing myself for that. I'm turning my body into a Tinder machine or a porn machine, or a masturbating machine, or a gambling machine, or a guitar playing machine, or a jiu-jitsu machine, or a meditating machine, or whatever. But it's all about, remember what I always talk about, it's what is your attention on? What you put your attention on becomes more powerful. So what you take your attention off grows weaker. And that's the first stage. That's stage one. Step one, no contact. No contact with whatever it is that's hurting you in life, that's keeping you away from that happiness and that wholeness. It can be a toxic past relationship, it can be an ex, it can be gambling, it can be sexting. And for so many of you out there, many of my clients, you're probably realizing that your relationship, your breakup, there's a much deeper root to that cause. And the root cause is the lack of self-love. It's always the lack of self-love. And remember, what is self-love? Self-love is you pursuing your goals in life. Yes, we're always going to be dependent on some things, but try to make those things like food. You're dependent on food, water, right? You don't want to try to keep them as basic as possible. I want to share something. I spent 10 days when I was in Chiang Mai in Thailand. I traveled about an hour and a half out of Chiang Mai into the countryside. There was an incredible Buddhist temple, and I did a 10-day meditation there. I met someone while I was in Chiang Mai going on a border run. You might have heard me say this in one of my other videos. And he was a teacher at a silent meditation retreat. And it was on a incredible Buddhist temple. I highly recommend this place to anyone who goes. It was amazing. You get your own beautiful room. I mean, the room had wood floors, it had its own shower, and my room was right next to the monks, the actual Thai monks who lived there. And my room, the window was facing the freezer where their ice cream was. And I'm telling you, these monks ice cream to them was like their porn. Ice cream to them was like their heroin. But they had managed to bring what they're dependent on for that amazing happiness. And we're all going to want that, the treat. What's our treat in life? Their treat, their pinnacle, their amazing moment was to gather around the ice cream freezer. They open it up, and I'm telling you, they do this every night, and they would have a little party around it. And it was just funny. I even recorded them doing this. It was just funny to me, and I just remember thinking, you see, it doesn't matter if you're in prison in a small room. It doesn't matter if you're a Buddhist monk in a monastery. It doesn't matter if you live in Las Vegas and you're a stripper or a gambler. It doesn't matter at what level you are in life. You're always going to have those incredible highs, and you're going to have the lows. They're just going to be at different levels. So for the monks, ice cream was their heroin. Okay? Now, in order to be happier in life, we want to bring that down so that I'm not saying that ice cream has to be the most glorious, amazing thing, but imagine if ice cream was the most amazing thing in your life. Those guys aren't having sex, they're not, well, I would hope not. They're not on Tinder, they're not sexting, those Buddhist monks are all day long meditating. They're meditating and they're training themselves to just be in bliss with the sensation of air going through their nose. That's what they're training themselves for, so that when they eat food, for them it's like orgasmic. So that when they have ice cream, it's like heroin, right? So are you guys following me? So it's all about your tolerance level, right? That's what we're talking about here. So the more you build tolerance and you're like, okay, well, ice cream doesn't make me happy anymore. I need this. I need this. And you go up that ladder, well, guess what? Everything below will no longer make you happy. It'll make you miserable. Someone will say, hey, you want ice cream? You'll be like, no, I don't want ice cream. Ice cream doesn't make me happy. I'm depressed. I want heroin. Or I want to sext. Or I want, to have sex, or I want porn. Porn's what's going to make me happy, right? But as any of you out there know who've gone or are going through this, it only makes you happy for a little while, and then after that you feel like shit. You feel empty, guilt. You have self-hatred towards yourself, and that manifests, because you are disappointed in yourself, because deep inside we all have our own belief of what's right and wrong, and if we stray off that path, we feel like shit. Why? Because we hate ourselves, we dislike ourselves. It's the opposite of self-love. Okay, but when you're able to do something disciplined, like delete Tinder, or give your phone to someone else and say, hey, please put a password on there for me so that I can't download any apps like Tinder, or there's parental locks. You can do that. When you do something like that, because you're finding it difficult, you keep coming back to those things, well, you're going to feel amazing. You're going to feel that self-love, that self-respect for being able to do something like that. And then guess what? When you free yourself up of that time, because apps like Tinder or going on porn and jerking off all day long, or pleasing yourself, all of those things take up a lot of time and energy. You think they don't, but they do. And when you eliminate those toxic distractions, obsessions, addictions, when you eliminate them out of your life, check it out, man. I'm getting some flabby arm here. All right, anyway, when you eliminate it out of your life, suddenly, where you would normally be sitting down and be like, okay, I'm going to do Tinder now or whatever, you're going to find that you have some time and space. And guess what? That's when you will be able to do something like pursue some of your goals in life. Excuse me for just a sec. Just got to turn off something. So you'll find that you'll have more time to actually do other things. For example, I recently quit my Facebook page, and I've done this before a few times, and I don't know how long this time will last for. But I, recently started thinking more and more that, that this isn't really serving me. Like, yes, of course, there's some great things about Facebook or social media. I try to limit my social media to Facebook. Like, I had Instagram, I had Twitter, but I'm trying to have less of those things because they take up a lot of time. And, I try and ask, do these things serve me? I might do eventually an Instagram for this channel, which I think would be a good thing. But going back to Facebook, so cutting it out, well, the effect of cutting it out is so amazing. It's so interesting. Well, I still have those feelings like I want to share. I want people to, I want to share with my friends and family what, some of the things that I enjoy or the things that I do, the things that I believe in, But because I don't have that outlet of Facebook to do it, what I wind up doing is I wind up connecting with my friends directly or with my family directly. I'll send them pictures, I'll contact them. So you see, you go back to, you know, other ways of doing things. It gives you more time to actually do better things with your time, in my opinion. You rather than posting a picture on Facebook that just reaches everyone and there's no real connection with anyone. That's what Facebook really is. It's like, um, I compare it in some of my other videos like a nicotine patch. It's giving you that fake sensation of community, but it's not real, right? When you eliminate that, or I have found when I've eliminated that, it encourages me to make more real connections. I'll actually reach out to the people that I want to reach out to, and I'll send them photos or I'll communicate with them. And it's a much more rich form of communicating. But I don't want to digress too much, okay? I know I always say that in my videos. I should just accept it, right? These videos are going to be full of digressions. It's the ramblings. It's the mouth of the ape channel, so prepare for ramblings. There's no point here. It's all ramblings. So going back to why no contact is not enough. And I did another video about this, which I'll upload as well, but I wasn't that happy with it. So if you're doing no contact and you think, okay, I'm great, I'm doing no contact, but then you're like, hearing about your ex through mutual friends, getting information about them, that's rule number 2 in my books, is no information. No information means you shouldn't be getting more info about what they're doing. You shouldn't be looking at their Instagram or their Twitter or hearing through mutual friends, oh, did you hear what they're doing? All of that stuff, you got to stop. I'm working with someone right now, and I know this is more difficult. Breakups can be more difficult for people who work with their exes, who live close to their exes, who see their exes, either at the gym. It's just going to be more difficult for you, but you've got to be smarter. You've got to be more creative. You've got to work harder in order to heal and move on. Okay? For example, I'm working with someone who's been doing incredible work every day, journaling properly, and she's just been doing incredible. And she's got a very difficult challenge. She's actually a model. I'm not going to go into too much personal info, but she's a model. And the modeling industry can be incredibly toxic and competitive, and there's a lot of jealousy, fighting over jobs, over attention, over who in the positions of power, like you, and all of this sort of thing. And I really take my hat off to her every day because she's doing things in a really great way and trying her very best. But her ex is, someone that she works with, and I get this email a lot from a lot of people. What do I do if I work with my ex or if I see my ex? Well, you've just got to work harder. It's going to be more difficult. Don't go, avoid going to events that your ex is going to be at. Avoid going, to, putting yourself in situations where you're going to bump into them. Be professional. Focus on being professional when you're at work or in those environments. Once you've broken up with someone, you have this license and this pass to be professional with them. Okay, you've broken up. You're no longer together. It's over. So you've got to activate this professional side to you. You can remain to be respectful. I always believe in 3 things in life: the universal language. I've traveled all around the world, lived in the Middle East for 10 years, lived in England for 13, lived in the US for 13, and I just spent 2.5 years in Asia. And the universal language I found, no matter where you are, in a rough neighborhood with, people who are really tough, or if you're in, a Buddhist temple, or no matter where you are in the world, kindness, respect, honesty. These three are like the universal language, especially respect. I put that at the top of the list, respect, kindness, and as I said, honesty, but always in balance, okay? Now, when you are working with someone or around someone, and it's difficult for you to move on because you're seeing them, well, it's going to take, it could possibly take longer. It could also have the opposite effect of helping you to move on quicker because you're going to be dealing with the fact that you're going to have to see them. So you're going to have to process, you're going to have to work harder. You're going to have to, in your mind, process the fact that you guys are over, and I'm not going to go into the details. There's a lot of work involved with what you would have to do and all of this. But the bottom line that I'm trying to get across is that it's of course possible. It might take longer, it might be more difficult, might be more work, but the same rules apply. No contact or limited contact, as little contact as possible. Try to understand the point of all of this is that in your mind you have a lot of thoughts about your ex or whatever it is that you're trying to let go of and heal from. You have a lot of thoughts about them. You do not want more thoughts. You don't want new thoughts in your head of like, what they're doing next week or what they're, who they're seeing now or who they're hanging out with. You don't need more information because there's already plenty in your mind that you need to process and deal with and digest. So you've got all these thoughts in your head of your ex, so, why this happened, blah, blah, what could have gone wrong, was it me, they're so amazing, blah, blah, all of this stuff. And there's strategies, there's techniques, and we talk about of how to process and digest all those thoughts so that you can let go and move forward. Because that's what this is all about. What a breakup really is all about is, okay, something's happened, now learn from it. Take what's good, what's going to help. Take what will serve you from this experience and let go of the rest. What's that very similar to? It's similar to digesting food, right? You eat a whole bunch of food, your body's going to be like, this, we don't need this. Yes, we need these nutrients, we need these elements, we need these antioxidants, we need, but we don't need all this. So your body absorbs everything it needs and then shits out the rest. And that is the same thing you're going to be doing during your breakup. So you're going to immediately start no contact to prevent more information about your ex coming into your mind, because the more that comes in, the longer it's going to take you to process and digest and move on. So if I'm doing really great, but then I'm looking at her Facebook or her Twitter every day, loading my mind with more information that's going to add weeks and weeks, longer to everything. So as I process everything that's already in my mind, what's left in my mind to process starts to shrink and shrink and shrink. Okay? And then that's how we move on. And so the first stage is the no contact, the no information, the shutting down. It's like putting a cast on a broken arm, preventing further damage so that this arm can heal. That's what you're doing with no contact and no information. That's the first phase. The second phase is to then start filling your mind with good things. And that's the pursuit of your goals, of activities that you enjoy, that lift you, that inspire you, that are good for you. Hiking, exercise, sports, your work, creativity, being around people who are great family, great friends, reading great books, listening to great, inspiring, energizing music, watching inspiring, energizing movies and documentaries or YouTube videos, or that's what you're going to be filling your mind with. And then your difficulty or your challenge is to manage those. It's like your car, you've got your brakes and you've got your gas pedal. So you've got to learn how to put the brakes on all the toxic, bad shit that's just hurting your life. The porn, the Tindering, the addiction and need to have someone be in a relationship, you know, and then increasing your ability and your strength in self-love, self-focus, pursuit of your goals, spending more time and attention on activities that are healthy for you. Okay, when you put the brakes on the bad shit, like for example me, I put the brakes on Facebook earlier now this week, or I put the brakes on people who are, not bringing anything good into my life. Just actually a couple of weeks ago, but it started a few months ago. So I returned to California, started reconnecting with some people who are here, and then one person in particular, not when I'm interacting with them, and this is, I'm going to end with this. How can you tell if someone's toxic or something's toxic for you? Because surprisingly to me, a lot of people have difficulty figuring out what's good and bad for them. I mean, the simple answer is, when you do a great workout, you feel amazing afterwards. You feel stronger, healthy, more energized. That's how you know if something is good for you or someone's good for you. When after you talk to them, you feel inspired, motivated, stronger, more confident, happier in life. Same thing with food or music or movies, okay? That's how you know if something's good for you. When you feel after, interacting with food, movies, music, an activity, or even a person that makes you feel like shit afterwards, like if I go and if I'm chatting to someone, sexting, or using porn or whatever, it feels amazing for a second, but then I feel like shit afterwards. Or if I'm communicating with someone who has some toxic intentions towards me, then I feel like shit. I feel hurt afterwards. That's how you figure out what's good and what's bad, and then that's where you apply your brake or your gas pedal. And I met this, sorry, not met, but I've been reconnecting with someone, and they are very clever in how they are hurting or being toxic. And people are like that. There's jealous people out there. There's people who have just issues in their own life, and they sometimes without realizing it will say mean or vicious things because they have problems in their life, or they'll try to hurt you to bring you down to their level because they're jealous. They see you're up there and they want you down where they are. Whatever it is, there's many ways to deal with these types of things. Just my own personal belief is I like to move my focus away from them. It's not that I'm trying to hurt them or disrespect them. No, it's that I am trying to respect myself by distancing myself from them. Because I love and respect myself, I am going to move my attention and focus away from them onto the things that serve me, that lift me up, that inspire me. So I'm going to move away from those types of people. They're going to become less of a presence in my life. So remember, if I spend more time with them, because let's say they hurt you, and a lot of people will hurt you. Why? Because they know that you're going to become engaged with them. If they say something mean to you or they try to dig you, if they're very clever, they'll say, oh, well, you're this and that. They'll do it in a way because they want your attention. Why? Because that's how they get energized. Remember, attention is power. So rather than giving them this gift of your attention and your power, give yourself that gift and that respect by putting your attention and your power onto your sports, onto your goals, onto the great movies, onto great books, onto great music. That's where you want to put your life, okay? As you can probably sense, or maybe not, there's so much to talk about. right? And this video can go on for hours, but I'm going to try and cut it short here. And I am coaching people, and if you want to, if you're interested in coaching, if you want to have a chat, if you are, there are some things that you are interested in trying to improve in your life, or you want some advice with, or whatever it is, going through a breakup. 95% of the people I work with are going through breakups, and but the breakups, remember, it's a symptom of a deeper challenge or a deeper place that can be improved and strengthened. Okay? So I'm sending everybody out there all the very best. Stay focused. You know, move away. Move your attention. You're driving this ship, and the ship is your attention. So steer away from, the tempting, distracting, toxic things in your life that are just keeping you down. And you will eventually wake up when you've had enough pain and you realize I'm wasting my time here, and I feel like crap. You will eventually, you know, find your way. But hopefully this video will help you save a lot of time and energy. Have faith. Do it. Get on with it. You're not missing anything out by, sadly, the majority of people out there are suffering, addictions, obsessions, unhealthy obsessions and addictions. Most people out there are totally consumed by social media and what people think of them, and they're getting their power and happiness from the attention of others in the form of likes or follows or retweets or shares. There's nothing wrong with all those things, but only allow 10% of your happiness to come from that, not more than that. The majority of your happiness and health and vitality and energy in life should be coming from other things in life, okay? So, life is amazing. Take care of it. Enjoy it. It's an amazing ride. Take care of it. As you can see, I'm getting some gray hairs. Part of the reason people ask me, hey, why are you always topless in your videos? Well, for me, it's a video journal. I get to see the way I'm transforming, and perhaps I'll be doing these videos for years to come, and you might find more grays coming out. But pursue what's worth pursuing, okay? As I always say, and this can be not just with relationship, it can be with food, movies, anything in life. Take steps towards things that give you back some energy. And it can be a relationship. I always say, a great relationship is when you take a step towards someone and they take a step towards you. And then you do it and then they do it. Toxic relationship is when you take a step towards someone and they don't do anything. Then you take another step towards them, being nice or giving them attention or whatever, and then maybe they go a little bit. You shouldn't be having to take 5 steps for 1 step back. Great relationship is both ways. And have the courage, have the guts to identify that quickly, to be smart. There's a lot of incredibly hot girls, guys out there who are toxic, energy vampires who thrive off attention and feed off it. Don't get seduced and locked in just because someone's hot, okay? It's really not worth it. I've been there. It's just not worth it. Having a beautiful, attractive, hot person just to make you feel better about yourself, it's not worth it. You're going to pay the price. All right, everyone, I'm out of here. Talk to you all soon. And been getting a lot of emails, people asking me about my music because, many of you have found out that I'm in a band, I run a label. Well, I'll talk more about my music maybe in future videos, but in case anyone is interested, I've been trying to keep it secret for the past couple of years since I started my videos, but it's a huge part of who I am. I write all the music. Music for me is the easiest and best way in which I express myself. So if you're interested, I'll put a link down below to, I'll insert a link to the label that I run. You can always check out all the bands on there. We have a Bandcamp site, which means you can listen to all the music for free. And yeah, the band that I'm in is I play in a band called Shells, and I'll put a link down there. And if you guys are interested, you can check it out. All right, everyone. So talk to you all soon, and keep me posted. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to try to reply to them. And if you're interested in coaching or anything like that as well, I try to keep my clients right now. I have about 5 or 6, and I try to keep it to about, not more than 7 or 8 people at the same time, just so that I can do this properly. Okay, sending you all out there all the best, and look forward to the next video. Adios for now. Bye.